Greetings, I'm Joey Bro. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be teaching you everything you need to know to build your very own redstone clock tower. I won't be showing you how to build the tower itself, but how to build the mechanism inside. This design will allow for your clock tower to face all four cardinal directions while maintaining a relatively compact size. It also has an auto reset function for when you sleep in a bed or return from having been away in other parts of your Minecraft world. Now sit back and follow along while I show you how to build the interior of a redstone clock tower. Okay, we're going to start with the clock face of our clock tower. To give ourselves some space, we're going to make a stack of 6 blocks, and then we're going to take a redstone lamp and we're going to create a circle of 12 redstone lamps. And that'll be 3 lamps on each side, like so. So knock out the corner ones, so you have 12, one for each hour. And then I'm going to put this one in the middle. This is just purely decoration, but you can add it to yours if you want. And now let's get rid of these bottom ones here. And the next thing we're going to do, we're going to put in redstone block here and here. So the bottom part at the 6 o'clock mark, and again, just this is for decoration to light up the middle one. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to fill in the blocks here for the piston tape that'll get pushed around. So I'm using the waxed cut copper slabs here, and I'm using slabs so they don't conduct redstone signal. I think it might be okay to make these solid blocks, but just to be safe, I keep most blocks that don't need to conduct redstone signal as some sort of block that won't conduct a redstone signal. So you can use stairs here or whatever else block. The only thing to watch for is if you're using the copper blocks like I am, use the waxed ones, because you don't want these things oxidizing randomly and the observers, which we're going to use later, causing the clock to trigger a rotation which could jam up your clock if it does it in the wrong order. So yeah, just be careful what part you use, but this is how it should look. There will be in the final redstone tape a block here, but leave that out for now so nothing moves while we're constructing it. Alright, next we're going to be needing some observers. So we're going to have an observer here in the middle block here, observer up, and then we're going to do a non-sticky piston here that'll push the blocks that way. And then we're going to do an observer in the middle block down, one watching that one, and a non-sticky piston pointing down. Now here, we're going to do something similar, but we're going to do an observer block in the middle. We're going to do an observer block underneath like this, but on top of that, we're going to put a redstone repeater, and we're going to put it at the 3rd setting. So if you start it like that, that was 1, 2, and 3. So the 2 clicks to get it to the 3rd setting. And then underneath that, we're going to put a sticky piston here, like so. And then to push our piston tape, we're going to put I'm going to put a smooth stone half slab here. Now for underneath here, this part, we're going to put 2 observers looking up into it like that. All right, for here, we're going to need to place some temporary blocks for a moment just so we can place our blocks here. So we're going to put a block right there. We're going to put a observer block facing up into there. Then we're going to break that, and then we're going to put 2 more blocks down, break this, put a sticky piston facing up, and then break that. So you just want observer block facing up into the piston tape, and then a sticky piston right here. Just as a safety precaution, I like to do this, should be unnecessary, but I'm going to put a obsidian blocks as sort of safety barriers, so nothing, if it gets placed in here, can cause the tape to push out beyond where it's supposed to be. So we'll put them at the 4 corners of our piston tape, where the natural flow is this way. It's kind of clockwise this direction because we're facing outward, but if you're facing the clock will go clockwise, like so. But we'll put our 4 obsidian blocks in the corners like that. Alright, next thing we're going to do is we're going to put a non-sticky piston beside here, like that. It's going to push that down. Then we're going to place a target block here. Then underneath that, we're going to put a observer block facing, oh wait, the observer block facing the front of the clock, like so. Then underneath that, we're going to put a non-sticky piston. Actually, we're going to build it up from the ground here. So it should be like that. So non-sticky piston, observer block facing out, and a target block, like so. Now, next to this, we're going to put two observer blocks facing down. Again, this is where you're actually going to put another one like that. This is basically the line where your clock ticker is actually going to put a pulse through, causing the whole clock to rotate by 1 hour. Next, we're going to put a copper bulb here. I'm using the fully oxidized one, which puts out the least light level, so it causes the least light updates, at least I assume. And so we put it next to the target block. We're going to put an observer watching that bulb, and then we're going to put another bulb right next to that, and an observer watching that one directed right into this sticky piston here. And so you'll have that. Now underneath here, we're going to put a few blocks. I'll use the smooth stone slab for a moment. We're going to come out like so. We can actually do that here, I believe, like that. And so we're going to go out like that. We're going to put the daylight detector here, like so. And then we're going to break the block underneath it. We don't need that per se. We're going to put a redstone repeater here, and then we're going to put an observer block facing the redstone repeater into that, so it's watching the redstone repeater. So we're going to break that block underneath because it's not needed. And so that is going to be what triggers our night-day check. Actually, we need to switch this to the, make sure it's the moonlight detection mode, which should be blue if you right-click on it. And this should be off if it's during the day and on during the night. But what this does is this, every time the day changes from night to day to night, it effectively causes the clock to check if you're in the 6 o'clock position. So this redstone block must be in line with here. If it's not, what it'll do, it is actually instigate a reset function, which causes it to rotate all the way around until it sets there. So that way, if you exit the area and the clock doesn't update and you come back and it's at the wrong time, at least twice a day from basically at 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. it'll check, and if it's not in the right place, it'll tick all the way around and reset to the correct location. And one thing I'm going to do, I'm going to put a button on this, which should never really need to be used, but it allows you to cancel the reset as it goes around. I mainly use that for whenever I was debugging the clock, but it was easy to just put a button on it and leave it there, and just have that available. All right, 2 important things I forgot we need to put in. One is we need to put in a way to tick our clock just as a test. This is not part of the clock, so we'll just put it here, and we'll be able to flip this if we want to tick the clock manually, just to show an example. But before we do that, we're going to put a piece of redstone. This is the only piece of exposed redstone we need, of the redstone dust, and we put it, and it goes right into here, whatever happens to be here. And so that is important for getting the actual ticking to work. And the final piece we don't want to forget is the final block in our piston tape that goes around, because if there's no block here, there's nothing to push against. So we need to put a block here that pushes that row up, pushes that row over, pushes that row down, and pushes it back to the start. And so that's important. Now we should be able to tick this clock with the lever. Again, remember, the lever isn't part of the build, it's just a way to test it. This line here is what you want. You can make it as long or short as you need it to, or at least probably wouldn't recommend putting it here, but at least here where you send a pulse up. So if we click that, it clicks over our clock once. And what's nice is if we want to test our reset functionality, we just double click that to leave it back on there, and it'll run our reset sequence. And it'll return back to the start. Now what's nice, basically what that does is whenever, again, this will change whenever it transitions from night to day to night, basically at 6 a.m. and p.m. And if you try to trigger it here, it won't do anything because the clock is already at 6 o'clock, which is the appropriate location for those times of day. So that's how the reset works. And if we want to test our canceling our reset, we're going to tick the clock once forward, just so it's not in the 6 o'clock position. And we're going to trigger our reset, but I'm going to show you that this button can cancel it. Again, it's not really needing to be used, but just to show that it works. Okay, reset canceled. And we're stopped wherever we happen to be. And then it can just tick normally. Yeah, to the next position it needs to be. All right, now for the moment, we're going to remove this block, and so we can safely remove the lever there without it moving forward. We're going to put the block right back, so our tape is complete. And now what I'm going to show you, now I'm using the Axiom mod to do this, but you can just rebuild it. What's good about this design is now that you have this clock face, you can duplicate it 3 more times to have a 4-facing clock for your clock tower, or whatever structure you put this clock face into. So we're going to copy the whole current structure, make sure I have it all selected. And okay, I'm going to grab that. I'm going to rotate it. And we just have to align it with the moonlight sensor here. So the moonlight sensor, when you align it, it should keep everything lined up like that. So we'll rotate it once more. Put it in line like that. Rotate it once more. All right, and there we have our 4 directional clock tower faces that face all different all 4 cardinal directions. And of course, you decorate this up with whatever your clock tower would look like, but it's actually fairly compact. Now, the thing we are still missing is our ticker, and that'll need to simultaneously tick all 4 of these all at once. Now, there's different ways you can do this as far as hooking them all up to one location. I'll show you how, at least the way I would do it. Next, we're going to build ourselves a sort of redstone clock to act as the ticker for our clock faces. Now, I'm going to use an ethos style hopper clock, a vertical one. You can use whatever one you want, but I'll show you how you can calibrate your clock such that it'll time the clock to work exactly as you need it to with the Minecraft day and how that works. Now, first I'm going to place these 2 blocks. They're not typically part of the ethos clock, but I'll show you why I'm placing those here. I'm going to put these here. Then I'm going to place the 2 hoppers like that. Our comparators here, our redstone, our sticky pistons, our redstone block. Now that should basically be our ethos style hopper clock. Now we need to put in some redstone to time it. I'm going to just put a few blocks in there, and as you'll see, it's sort of like an hourglass where it'll drain from one side to another, then flip and back and forth. And so however many items you have in here is how long it'll take to tick. Now this is way too fast for a clock for a Minecraft day. If you want to basically know how it works, a Minecraft day is basically 24,000 of these ticks that the clock can put out. And so you need it to have, for this 12-hour clock, so twice a day, so you'll need 1,000 ticks per hour of this. So after 1,000 ticks, it'll switch to the next hour, and then to the next, to the next. So you need your hopper clock to be at 1,000 ticks. Preferably, it'd be hard to get right exactly on, but you want to get as close as you can. But it's better to be slightly longer than slightly shorter, and I'll explain why. Now I'm going to put some blocks here, and I'm going to remove this block, put that there, and I'll put some redstone down here. And then I'll put a lever on this block. And what this is going to allow me to do is I'm going to basically pause the clock wherever it is, exactly how it is. So I can work on it and pause it. And what this might help you do if you choose this style of ticker, it'll allow you a way to make sure your ticks happen at the right time of the hour that you want. But you can pause it, or if you needed to service your clock, whatever, you can pause it like this. All right, next I'm going to show you how to calibrate your clock to make sure it's timed exactly how you want it. I'm going to put in a sort of a temporary set of blocks here. Now, I'm going to put an observer here, and this is how I use mine. So whenever it ticks, it sends the pulse up into these sort of receivers here for these observers. but I have it split into all of them simultaneously, but I'll just have it there just so we can observe it. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to use a command block. Now this can only be done in creative mode, but you can do this to basically calculate how much you need in whatever clock you use for your how much basically timing your clock has compared to what you need. So remember, you want 1,000 ticks. Now we're going to put in a command. It's going to be called /time query, and then we're going to say game time, and we want to say done here. Now we're going to turn our clock on, and what it's going to do is every time it ticks, there we go, you'll have this output here, and what you want to do is Control-C, get out of there, and you have your notepad ready. You paste in the first value you get, and if you go back to the game, wait for it to tick again, get the next value, Control-C, then go out into your notepad again, and you should have two separate values. Now you want to subtract the old value from the new value. Now according to my calculations, those two ticks were 100, or those two ticks of the clock were 122 game ticks apart, which is way too short, because we need it to be basically as close to 1,000 as we can. So I'm gonna I gotta pause the clock. I'm gonna empty out this. And what I found, oh, that still ticked. All right. What I found for my clock is you want 64 plus 62, and that should be slightly more than 1,000 ticks. And so if we did that, that'll be slightly more than 1,000 ticks. And the reason for that is, if you can't make it exact, would it be better to be slightly fast or slightly slow? And the answer is it should be better to be slightly slow, because what will happen is eventually, say it gets to the 6 o'clock where it does the check for the reset, if it's slightly fast, eventually after enough days it'll jump to the next hour before the check happens, which will trigger a reset, have it go all the way around, which again won't break the clock, but you'll have an unnecessary reset. But if it's slightly behind, instead of jumping ahead an hour, it'll be back an hour. It'll do the check, trigger the reset, but then it'll just immediately snap back to the hour and be in time again without having to go all the way around. So it's better for the clock to be slightly over 1,000 game ticks than slightly under. All right, I just did my test for my clock with the stack of 64 and 62, and that came out to 1,002 game ticks, which is actually really good. That's pretty spot on. So it'll actually probably take a really long time, like, I don't know, 500 circles around or something like that, because you only lose 2 every time, and so that'll, after 500 cycles, it might be behind one, and then, yeah, that would take a long time to do, but in theory, that should be good that way, better than being slightly too slow. More likely than not, what'll happen for retriggering is you'll leave the area, come back, and it'll retrigger the next 6 a.m. or 6 p.m. But yeah, at least it's nice to have the clock as sort of resilient as it can be. All right, I've moved our clock faces on top of our ticker here. So we've got the Ethos style clock down here. Again, whatever style clock you want once it's been calibrated. For now, I just have it set to a very short, relatively short tick time. But I have observers going into this target block. Doesn't have to be a target block, but then it runs out to these 4 limbs, which the observers going up into the clock faces will see. Again, you can configure that how you will, as long as I recommend, again, ticking them all at the same time. So like that. So I'll unpause our clock here, and we should get some ticking happening. Hello, llamas. All right, I'm going to give a quick tour of the version of the clock tower that I put in my little town here. And so you can see it again ticked from 6 to 7 o'clock in the morning. So the sun is just rising. I had actually just tested with the bed. If you sleep in the bed and the reset works, it goes back to the reset. So we're going to go up and have a look how I decorated it. All right, here we are in the actual clock tower, and the mechanisms are all up there. So we'll go have a look at that. And with the open space in the middle of the clock tower mechanism, I was able to have it where it's accessible. So here we are. This is my ticker. It's not exactly in the middle. I put it behind sort of this safety area, and it'll it has a clock here, so I can sort of see what time it's supposed to be according to the Minecraft clock. And then ticker, and again, I did a little differently, but I have the lever here. I could put it on there, but this will again pause the ticker if I need it to. And then I'm going to climb up here, and here we have sort of the mechanism with the moonlight sensor. I have the ladder here because again, this has to be not blocked. And the way I did that is at the very top of my roof, there's a trapdoor, and trapdoors technically don't block light, so I was able to have it on my roof, but without obstructing the view of the sensor from the sky. And again, what's neat about here, you can actually kind of go around and observe all the mechanics, make sure everything is working fine. I can go up to the next level, and here is where you can actually see the clock face piston tapes going around. And again, I have my reset cancellation buttons here, and up top here, nothing much really. Just I had a thought of actually, if I go right down here, I did put a bell on one of these, so what happens when the piston tape goes all the way around, it actually rings the bell at noon, so that's kind of neat. Possibly in the future, I'd like to be able to see, could I get it to like ring the appropriate amount of like rings of the hour? I don't know, at least maybe 4 of the hours, like the 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9, or 12, 3, 6, and 9, although I think it's the other way because I'm facing the backward part of the clock face. But anyway, we'll go back up. And also the other thing, because it's such open space, if you really wanted to, you might be able to figure out how to get the ticker to be in this area here to compact it even more. But it fit well in my tower. And I'll go up to the roof to show you kind of what I've got. So if I go up here, and up top here is where the tower actually has its top. And so you sort of have this roof as well, but you can hide it, again, with a nice little trapdoor in the middle here. All right, that was my redstone clock tower, the 12-hour clock tower with 4 faces, all in one relatively compact tower. And if you like that type of redstone build, be sure to give a like, and let me know in the comments if you'd like to see more of these type of builds. Thank you all for watching. Farewell.